I analyzed Marlon's face, and his facial harmony is extremely rare. It's the kind of score you almost never see, but even faces that look perfect to the naked eye still have some small flaws that hold them back. So in this video, I'll show you exactly why his face scores the way it does, where it loses some points, and at the end, you'll see his overall attractiveness score rating, which honestly might surprise you. So Marlon's front harmony got an impressive score of 8.77, which is around 1 in 8,000. And now let's break this score down, so we'll go over some of his flaws and then we'll go over his strengths. So starting off with Marlon's first flaw from the front, we can see that it is his eyebrow length to face width ratio. This essentially indicates that his eyebrows are not laterally wide or long enough to harmonize with the width of his face. So essentially wider eyebrows could frame his eyes a lot better. Next up, another flaw is his ear protrusion angle. Ideally, this angle should be between 10 and 11.5 degrees, but Marlon's angle comes in at over 16, which just means that his ears stick out a bit more than they should. And we can see that he only got a score of 5.4 out of 10 on this specific feature, which does lower his front harmony score a bit. Moving on, we can see that Marlon got a deduction from his total FWHR, and this essentially compares the height of the face to the width of the face. This is because his total facial height comes out to be 1.31 times the width of his cheekbones, and this leads to making his face a bit more squished. Another minor flaw of his is also related to his eyebrows, and it is his eyebrow low-settedness. And here Marlon is not out by like a crazy amount or something, but his eyebrows could be slightly lower set to frame the eyes even better, because for men, ideally you want the eyebrows to be as low set above the eyes as possible, essentially. So yeah, that's about it for the flaws. Now let's see what strengths make Marlon's front harmony so good. So starting off with his facial thirds, we can see that they are very balanced. So the top, middle and lower parts of his face all fall into ideal proportions. His bigonial width is also spot on, meaning the width of his jaw is perfectly proportional to the width of his cheekbones. Next up, his eye separation ratio is ideal, which measures the width between the pupils and compares it to the width of the cheekbones. And this tells us that his eyes are neither too far apart or too close set. Then his mouth to nose width ratio is like literally on the dot perfect, which is something that can make or break a lot of faces as well. His face width to height ratio is also very good. You want the width of the cheekbones to be around twice the height of the mid-face. His cantle tilt averages 6.1 degrees, which is basically ideal. Then his jaw frontal angle is around 90 degrees, which is again on the dot perfect. Finally, his neck width is about 91% of his jaw width, which is also basically around ideal. Yeah, I mean, now we can see more clearly why Marlon's front profile scores so highly. It has very few flaws. And by the way, if you are curious to see your own facial strengths and weaknesses and you want to know exactly what you can do to reach your max potential, you can try the tool I used called FaceIQLabs. And if you use the link in the description, on top of the free face scan, you get an extra 20% off of any of their plans. The first and biggest flaw of his side profile is his submental angle, and this is Marlon's biggest downfall essentially, because even though he's fairly lean, his hyoid bone sits a bit low, which makes the area under his jaw look like slightly more saggy from the side than it should. Next up, a clearly visible one is Marlon's gonial angle. And the gonial angle measures the angle between the ramus and the mandible, and we can see that his gonial angle is slightly more obtuse than it should be by about like 6 degrees or so, and the ideal is to have your gonial angle at around 121 degrees at most, like on the upper end of the ideal range, so to speak. Now let's go over Marlon's side profile strengths. And a big strength of Marlon's side profile is his positive orbital vector, and this basically measures how far the bone under the eyes, called the infraorbital rim, projects compared to the most forward part of the eyeball. In simple terms, it shows whether the bone under the eyes is strong and well developed, and Marlon's vector is clearly positive, which means he has good under eye support, which is something that's extremely important for having a youthful and healthy look. Moving on, we can see that he has a good facial depth to height ratio, which indicates that Marlon has sufficient forward growth, which is also a very important factor in the overall look of the side profile. Next up, you can see Marlon also nails all the facial convexities. And I mean, yeah, really his only deductions from the side come from his segmental and some of his nose measurements, but overall he has still like a very good and desirable side profile.